Well, it looks like Brie Larson and the SJW media have gone into full damage control. But before we get into that, I just want to thank everybody for the support on the last few videos. The last one especially, god damn, you guys kicked so much ass on that one, I do appreciate it. Links to the previous videos on this subject are in the description down below for those who happen to miss them. And if you do end up enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. So the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of a follow-up to what I talked about in the last video, how the SJW media have completely ran away with the idea that Captain Marvel is being review bombed by trolls. So to catapult us straight into this discussion, let's look at this article by comicbook.com. Captain Marvel review bombers have dropped Rotten Tomatoes audience rating to lowest in MCU by Adam Barnhart, or Barnharted, I don't freaking know, by this beta-ass soy boy right here. How about that? The fake Rotten Tomatoes review onslaught continues for Captain Marvel, giving the film the lowest rating of all Marvel Cinematic Universe movies on the site nearly 2 weeks ahead of its release. As of this writing, Captain Marvel now has a 52% audience rating, a whopping 18 points below the next lowest MCU flick, 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Well, in a sense, he's not lying. He is a moron, but he's not lying because they aren't reviews, so they are fake reviews technically. And as of this recording, that want to see percentage is down to 46%. And that right there is the reason why the SJW media and Brie Larson are now in damage control mode. Starting earlier this week, a certain section of the internet, for whatever reason, journalism at its finest, ladies and gentlemen, for whatever reason, he says, could have looked it up, could have given a reason, but that's the kind of reporting we can expect from the SJW media nowadays. Anyways, a certain section of the internet, for whatever reason, decided to start filing fake negative reviews in an attempt to purposely lower the film's audience rating. A similar situation took place with Marvel Studios' Black Panther last year, which has one of the lowest audience ratings, 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, despite being nominated for an astonishing 7 Academy Awards, including setting history as the first ever superhero film nominated for Best Picture. Which is pandering, because not one person can give a valid reason as to why it deserves Best Picture. And I could go off on a tangent just about this subject in itself, but maybe or maybe not, I'll leave it for a separate video, we'll see. But Black Panther was okay, it's not Best Picture worthy. Fortunately enough for the House of Mouse, the reviewing bombing, what the fuck? It's review bombing, dog, it's not that difficult. The reviewing bombing of Black Panther had no ill effect on its box office haul. The Ryan Coogler-directed film ended up grossing over $1.3 billion worldwide, including a record-setting $700 million domestically. It's the highest-earning superhero movie to ever debut in America, and is third all-time on the domestic earnings list, only behind Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Avatar. Now, I'm not going to sit here and deny the impressive amount of money that Black Panther made, because even when adjusted for inflation, it still came out ahead of the 2002 Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. Not by an incredibly large amount, but it still came out ahead. But again, I talked about this a couple of videos ago, they didn't go around saying like, oh, because black people are great, white people are terrible. They were just saying that, oh, this movie is great because it has a bunch of black people and women of color. And if you don't like it, you're racist. Which again is a far cry from Captain Marvel's anti-men marketing and Brie Larson's anti-white men existence. It appears if Captain Marvel will end up having a similar box office situation, in addition to glowing reviews from critics, the movie is now tracking for a staggering $120 million opening weekend, which would end up making Captain Marvel one of the highest earning solo films in the MCU. Sure, if you don't adjust for inflation, like I said, with Black Panther, if you adjust for inflation, it still comes out ahead of like even Spider-Man, which was earth-shattering at the time. But even if it somehow manages to make $120 million, which I don't think it will, but even if it did, it's pretty average. That kind of opening weekend would be equivalent to Iron Man in 2008, and that was before the MCU was established and made a name for itself. But obviously adjusting for inflation does not help their narrative, so they're not going to. But along with Adam Beta Barnhardt, we have Bill Bradley of the Huffington Post, who says Captain Marvel movie rating suffers after trolls post disturbing reviews. Before taking on the Skrulls, Captain Marvel is dealing with Rotten Tomatoes comment section. Disturbing reviews, he says. Jesus Christ. That headline alone makes me feel like we will not survive if we go through the entire article. I honestly feel like we'll die from a minefield of stupidity before we reach the comments that he deems as disturbing. So let's skip straight to that portion. The latest comments for Captain Marvel seem to follow a disturbing theme. One person said they couldn't be paid to see the SJW-laden white male-hating, worthless piece of shit movie. Others claimed, without much context, that Larson had sexist and racist attitudes. We're gonna get into the whole context thing later on, I assure you, but so far the comments he's talking about that are disturbing are exactly what he said, just comments saying that, oh, she's racist, so I'm not gonna go watch this. Oh, she's sexist, so I'm not gonna go watch this. For the SJWs that have come here to downvote this video, can you explain to me how that's disturbing? Because they seem like pretty goddamn valid reasons to me. And if you're saying it's because it's hateful rhetoric, like this dumbass is saying, then how is it not hateful rhetoric when the people clicking I want to see are saying similar things? Oh, the people who don't want to see this are sexist, misogynistic pigs. Men are so stupid that they can't appreciate a female lead. You can't just have it one way, Bill, you goddamn moron. Especially when the people saying that she's a racist, sexist bitch, like I'm saying, actually have reasons for it that somehow we're trolling. I have more points to make about context and so on and so forth, but in order to do that, we need to hear from our favorite people, our friends over at the Mary Sue, the worst publication of all time. Because in the last video, we heard from both Chelsea and Rachel, but this time we get to hear from Kate, who says Brie Larson shouldn't have to clarify her comments about the Captain Marvel press tour. She's right, you know. Gonna have to say no, Kate, I don't know. Explain it to me, please. Brie Larson can't blink without Comicsgate making 50 videos about how she hates white men. After Larson made comments about wanting her press tour for Captain Marvel to be more inclusive, trolls began to insult her and her film, claiming she was being racist and sexist against white men. They've even spammed Rotten Tomatoes with bad reviews of the film, which has not even come out yet. Interesting, you acknowledge that the movie has not come out yet you still call these reviews. That's that 70 IQ Mary Sue we've grown to know and love. Larson has now come forward and clarified her arguments in an interview. Well, let's take a look at this interview she's talking about.
Now, one thing I want to say, one thing I love about you is you had a great story happen recently about inclusivity and diversity in press. And I'm a white male.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to pause here for a moment. Look at the way she looks at him knowing that he's a white male. Because it doesn't matter that he's a flamboyant beta soy boy cuck. In her eyes, he is still a white male and that hatred is just seeping out of her core. Just pointing it out. Let's continue.
And I commended you completely on that. But
Thanks.
Most people, when that article dropped, it was headlines that were completely taking you out of context. Like she wants no white men at like press junction, which is not what you were saying. And people need to read the articles to actually find out the context of what you were saying.
Yeah.
But as an actor, when you had to say something like that, do you worry about how things get twisted? And for audiences who only do read headlines, can you clarify what you were saying? 'Cause I think it's awesome what you're doing, and I hope that more actors do it.
I mean, it's hard for me to comment on that because I don't know what the headlines were or what was said or what I said or what people think that I said. All that I know is like, what I'm looking for is to bring more seats up to the table.
Yep.
No one's getting their chair taken away. There's not less seats at the table. There's just more seats at the table.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that you're doing that, and please, I hope every actor sees what you're doing and does it more because we need more diversity.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
The Mary Sue then quotes the Crystal and Lucy Awards. I do not care what a 40-year-old white man has to say about Wrinkle in Time. Brie Larson quote that we talked about a few videos ago, and the Kea Brown Marie Claire interview where she said, I looked at my press tours, saw that there were overwhelmingly white males, so I went to Dr. Stacy blah 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 at the Inclusion Institute of Morons and Idiots to confirm that because I am an airhead. They confirmed it, therefore I wanted people of color, not overwhelmingly white males, quote. Nothing in either of her immensely important quotes says I hate white men and they shouldn't see movies. However, because Larson is an outspoken activist, her words are misinterpreted by men who want her to fail and to give them a legitimate reason to hate her and her film. After all, Larson not smiling in the trailers can only get your hate train so far. Okay, we've heard enough. We're not going to read the rest of the article. There's only a paragraph left, but it's not really worth reading by any means. So first off, context, right? This is a running theme in all of these articles. Are saying that we took things out of context. Even to the point where that moron that was interviewing her was saying that we only read the headlines in order to know the full story. We needed to read the full articles. Well, when I covered the stories, I gave the entire story. The first quote, I even went to the part where she's like, am I saying I hate white dudes? No, I'm not. That doesn't mean anything though, because to you SJWs that are too stupid to understand this, let me take her quote and then twist it in a way that will help you understand, alright? So imagine that first quote, right? Instead of white dudes and Wrinkle in Time, we're gonna use black dudes and Schindler's List. I don't need a 40-year-old black dude to tell me what didn't work about Schindler's List. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what it meant to Jewish people, to Jewish Americans, to young Jewish people. Am I saying I hate black dudes? No, I'm not. I have 2 black friends, for Christ's sakes. Alright, I added that last part for fun, but you get my point. Because you're basically saying that their opinion is invalid just because of their skin color. No, you're not saying that you hate them, but you're acting like you do. You're saying that you want more seats at the table, nobody's chairs being taken away, but you're basically telling people that the white person's voice should not be heard just because of their skin color, and in Brie's case, gender as well. Why is it so difficult for SJWs to understand why this is wrong? Why what they're doing is wrong? She follows up that quote by saying that the percentage of white male critics was 64%, which is not representative of the race breakdown in America, according to Brie Larson. She says 30% are white males, 30% are white females, 20% are males of color, and 20% are females of color. Therefore, something must be done to change that. She's basically saying there should only be 30% white males reviewing movies in America. Okay, so let me twist that also to make you SJWs understand why it's wrong. In 2015, a study was conducted and 75% of the NBA was black men. Now, considering only men can actually be in the NBA, according to your statistics, Brie, only 40% should be black men. Same thing with a study conducted in 2014 with the NFL, nearly 70% are black men. But you're saying there should only be 40. Well, Brie, what are you gonna do about that one? How about this? In the education system, women make up 76% of teachers, 52% of principals, and 78% of central office administrators. But Brie, only the principals are around the appropriate percentage according to your statistics. I guess something must be done about that. It's almost as if the different races and genders prefer going into different fields or excel at different fields. So take that and take the NBA, the NFL, and just say, oh, there's too many black people, it needs to be only 40%. Stop letting black people in the education system. There's way too many female teachers and central office administrators. Need to remove females from the equal opportunity employment system. Have I made my point clear yet, or are you SJW still going to insist that I'm taking things out of context? I mean, with the Marie Claire thing, I even showed what Kea Brown asked her, which had nothing to do with skin color. But Brie Larson somehow twisted the conversation to be about skin color. I mean, that's an example that not only did I not take things out of context, the full context does not help your argument. What about the patriarchy ringing on my parade thing? Was that taken out of context? Because from what I saw, the doorbell rang and she's like, oh, that's the patriarchy ringing on my parade.
Now the doorbell, that was the patriarchy that was ringing on my parade.
And it's awfully convenient that she doesn't remember what she said all of a sudden. I'm sure the Disney producers have told you what you said. That's why the manner in which you're choosing to answer that moron's question has changed drastically from how you've been answering it so far. Nobody's chair is being taken away, I'm just saying more seats at the table. Well, guess what? What if there's only a finite amount of seats? What do you do then, Brie? I don't know, I think I've made my point. To the modern feminist twats who somehow made it to the end of this video, I applaud you for that, and that is not being sarcastic actually. But I do have a message for you. Do you remember the fappening? When that hacker infiltrated a bunch of celebrities' iClouds and exposed a bunch of celebrities for sending around nude photos of themselves or photos of themselves doing sexual acts? Your activist feminist hero Brie Larson was one of the ones sending said photos to her white male lovers. Just wanted you guys to know that she's a thought, which obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're a modern feminist, of course, and you take issues with things like that. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and share this video with your friends, family, or whoever the hell else you think would be interested. And subscribe and ring that notification bell, of course. That way you will be in the loop and be alerted every time I post another one of these spaghetti noodles. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.